I just traded it for a bigger and shinier one. That's what I realized when I was sitting in my car outside of the gym, just exhausted. I had left my government job in pursuit of freedom, right? But I realized then that I had actually built myself into a different box. And here's the thing, what I was doing to my coaching is what you and a lot of athletes do to their nutrition and training. It is not a good idea. I left government and my corporate life like 12 years ago, and I was in health communication, and I did it all because I really wanted fulfillment and to help people. And that's how I got into personal training. I have always been passionate about food, about fitness, learning more about people. And I really, really thought that personal training would give me everything. I had that fulfillment. So I went all in, right? I had the one-on-one clients, and this was the model for a long time, which was incredible. But on the flip side, it just meant that every hour and every session was tied to me showing up. It's the only way that I got paid. Let's tie that into your nutrition for a second. What are some languages that you perhaps have heard yourself or one of your friends say? I'm going to meal prep everything. I'm going to be perfect with my calories and my macros. I'm going to eat only clean. I'm taking out all junk food. I'm going to train 6 days a week, no matter what. 30-day challenge. I'm in every day. All or nothing, one rigid model. And it works until it doesn't. I am so grateful for my personal training experiences. It's so different when you get to witness people accomplish such incredible things. That's why I wanted it in the first place. You end up being invited, to birthdays, to weddings, and you're like an honorary family member, which is amazing. Amazing, especially with the clients I had. Fucking incredible. And that's so cool because you get to learn about people, and then you watch them accomplish things they didn't think they could do. And then people see you often and they're very vulnerable, which is, with great power comes great responsibility. I always took that so seriously. It was such a privilege. And then on the flip side, also, that means I got to do my job well. And my job was to be on, and it's to manage energies, is to show up and just to be supportive and help people in their progress. And the part that became quite challenging managing the two is you want to connect, but you can't be all the way in completely 100% best friends. You are a professional. You want to care a lot and you want to show your personality, but you have to try and maintain some boundaries, which I found incredibly challenging, honestly, straight out, because I'm myself, and I'm self-employed. I absolutely love everyone I got to work with. What a dream come true. But that's just a lot. Even if you're someone like myself with high capacity and a lot of energy, and as fulfilling as it was, just you get drained because you're showing up 30, 40 hours a week at super high energy. And then at some point, that's what happened. So I'm sitting in my car and I'm like, huh? And then I realized that the engine light has been on for so long and I've ignored it. I have just ignored the engine light. A lot of people do that. Don't do that. Car maintenance is an adult thing to do, but the engine light was on because it cared so much. Okay, let's pause for a second. I'm going to relate it back to the nutrition conversation. Same thing. You might go all in on Sunday meal prep, but by Wednesday, you might start grabbing random things, and you can commit to 6 days of training, hardcore training, you're all in, but life happens. You may miss a session and then you're off the rails, especially if you're an athlete working towards something specific and everyone knows that if they're in a competition or fight camp, there's a lot involved. And in certain situations, you do have to be all in. I don't mean not to be committed and to do what is essential for the goal that you have. It's more of the mindset of the on or off button, because the all or nothing breaks. It breaks. For me, for you, because rigid systems do not bend, they snap. All right, so let's go back a little bit to the pandemic. 5 years ago, wherever you were on the planet, that was a transformative time for the world. And I'm specifically just talking on perspective. Obviously, that was my lived experience as a contract personal trainer. So at the time when the gyms shut down, I went virtual. Problem solved. And I'm very grateful because I had a hybrid setup. I always had it, and I had started to kind of build on it a bit more given my comms background. And so when this happened, I was like, oh, perfect. I got the systems in place. Problem solved. I can coach from anywhere. Except that's not what happened, because we all thought it was going to be 2 weeks, right? And what I did originally was I replaced the 30 hours in the gym one-on-one with 30 hours on Zoom one-on-one. It's still that same all or nothing model. And I replaced sitting in front of the computer screen to being in person, back to sitting in front of the computer screen. And it was still the same thing of like every hour of me, of my income and like what I do is tied to me showing up and giving energy, which obviously is my job, but also it was a pandemic. We're all struggling in our own different ways. We're going through a lot personally, professionally, spiritually, everything. And I was running on empty. So I realized, yeah, this was not the pivot I thought it was. And it taught me one extreme to the other. I just kind of replaced one thing with the other. And you might do this too. You might think you're being really flexible. Yeah, I'm just gonna adjust. No problem. I got this. But then you might actually be swapping one extreme for the other. So what I mean is you're like, it takes too much time and energy for me to track my calories and my macros. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna completely swap with intuitive eating. I'm not knocking intuitive eating. I mean that it just depends. Those are two extremes. Whereas somewhere in the middle would probably be a better approach. Here's what I actually figured out, that I didn't need to quit coaching. I just needed to adjust my hybrid model to an actual hybrid model. So one-on-one clients, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when you are reviewing technique, when there is very specific phases or there's personalized support, there is hard discussions that need to be had. I still been doing this for years, and I still hire people and coaches with their expertise when necessary. I have always been an advocate for it, and I still am, because it still has its place. It's just not the only way to do it, because there's also community, there's content, there's workshops, there's group coaching, there's doing some stuff on your own. So when I was 14, and I shared more about this in my very first video, which is very different delivery, about a couple months ago. But when I was 14, I knew that I always wanted to combine health, humanity, and fitness with food and travel. I just wanted to connect it all. Right. I was very much into international health, and I was in rugby. In rugby world is all about teamwork and camaraderie. I realized that I cannot build something sustainable by locking myself in one model. It might have worked then, but we evolve, and that's the whole point, is to evolve. This is the same lesson that I just wanted to share with you, that hybrid approaches work way better than all or nothing. You don't need to meal prep for everything or chaos. You can have some batch cooking, some grab and go spots, and some flexibility for life. You don't need perfect discipline or total freedom. You need structure with room to adapt. You don't need to train only alone or only with a coach. It could be some with a coach, some alone, some with people or teammates. You need autonomy with support. And so, what does hybrid actually look like? For me, that meant building around three things: nutrition, mindset, and teamwork. And I brought my expertise for nutrition, and I also have the licensing for Mindlock for mental training. And then there's the community. And I'm not abandoning one-on-one, not at all. It's just not the only option. And this gives us a little bit more flexibility within that structure. I'm able to now create content. I have YouTube. Thank you for being here. I can make more things on social media. I can have newsletters and my podcast, and I'm bringing the health communication side that I was incredibly passionate about and building on top of my personal training experiences, and then opening it up so I can have more reach and conversation with athletes beyond my little community, and to just make the community bigger and bigger. So coming back to nutrition, the hybrid might mean meal prepping some staples, and also knowing some go-to spots and having some quick convenience backup options. You might plan your training a little bit more flexible to actually allow recovery. And you might build systems that support you instead of just having to rely on willpower every single day. Because as you saw in my previous video, that's a finite resource. And at some point, it's going to run out. It's not a sustainable system. So have support, whether that's a coach, teammates, other resources. Have your community, and also be independent. And the more I am evolving and the more I'm understanding as an athlete and as a coach and being in this for years, the more I'm recognizing the importance of not burning the candle at both ends and putting yourself first, and to rely on community. Because the more rested I am physically and mentally, the more space there is, the more creative I can become, the more I can produce, the more I can be better to myself and to the people around me, and ultimately go back to my original goal, which was to help people in the first place. So, same for you. The better your systems of support are, the better you perform. And that moment in my car, I really hit my limit and I almost quit. But I didn't. And it wasn't the end, it was an evolution. It was actually a reminder and a little nudge for me to move on to the next chapter. I never stopped loving coaching. And what I stopped was forcing one rigid model. And that's the main takeaway here is you don't need to quit your goals. What you do need to do is stop forcing the all or nothing that may lead to burnout. For me, hybrid works, having that duality as a person. It's like not the all or nothing, but and structure and flexibility, support and autonomy, systems and adaptation, me and you as a team. Yeah, that was cheesy. I don't care. I love it. So if you have been grinding one approach, this is an invitation and a little reminder to step back and look around and be like, hey, am I failing or am I just forcing this all or nothing? Where is there room for me to adjust? That's what I work on with myself and with my athletes. It's not to have that perfection or that dependence. I want to offer support that's true for your actual life. I'm just here to share the resources from my toolbox, and we got to talk together to see which tool fits when. And if this resonates, please share so in the comments. I want to know. Thank you so much for your attention, everyone. Catch you next time.